Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Okay, today in the morning drive, the real morning drive, I was not gonna do a live stream. I was just gonna record it and upload it. I'm gonna move in that direction just because it's so early. One, people ain't watching that much, and two, I want to be able to upload these to YouTube. And three, the areas that I get into, the reception is pretty bad sometimes. So here in traffic, a lot going on. So the topic yesterday was a bit of an odd topic, right? Okay, who's zooming who, and so pretty much it's who's taking advantage of who's running what, who's could be manipulating you, all that stuff, right? So I think it's a pretty interesting topic, and I kind of wanted to continue a little bit to kind of follow that thread a little bit. But the title of this message is called "If You Have a Wig, You Have a Hat." Crazy topic. What a title, right? I'm gonna turn this around now. If you have a wig, you have a hat. Now, I do have a hat on right now. Let me take it off. And it's freezing. I think 7 degrees or something like that. And while driving, right, I kind of already had some sort of message per se, a little bit. But then it kind of hit me. Seeing people, a couple of folks walking, a few women walking. It's so cold that you don't want to do without a hat. Now, of course, I saw some white folks outside and they didn't have a hat. They could tolerate cold different, just different. People are different DNA, right? And so me being born out of the country in the Caribbean, being without a hat is a non-negotiable. But then I saw some women with wigs. And then I said, man, how could they be without a hat? They had the nice hair, braids and stuff. And I was like, how could they do it? Then it hit me that there were times that I did use a wig during Halloween. I remember one time when we used to do the whole Halloween thing. I had a costume of a pirate, like Pirates of the Caribbean kind of thing, And I put and then there was another time with a wig. It was like a rock star, and I had the wig on. And well, it was like one of those costume party worldly stuff before I became a believer, and before I became a Christian. And I would go in an apartment, had a wig on, and I was baking in that stuff. It was like, oh my God, the material of the wig was hot. Then just because of all the hair, it was hot. So then I saw like how cold it is outside. I'm like, why these women? My God, it's freezing out there. Then it hit me that they actually do have a hat. It hit me that it looked like they don't want to mess up their hair, but the reality is, especially if you got some of those cheap wigs, but the bottom of it, it's already like has a lot of nylon and stuff that and the way some women may put it on, it acts as a hat. It insulates. It is super hot. I'm telling you, when I put that wig on, I was like, holy smoke! It reminded me. I said, you know what? Folks are, oh man, shikes, I gotta get this. Hello? Yes.
Yeah, you hear me? Can you give the Pino Sandra Val number for Kiss of Glory, please?
For who?
The lawyer.
Oh, what's the lawyer's name again?
Yeah, if you have the phone number, if you could text it to me.
I could text it to you. I just need to pull over.
Huh?
What's her name? Katie, right? Katie.
Kiss of Katie. I'm trying to get a documentation for court later on.
She uses, this a Google number she has too. Okay, but I'll send it.
Yeah, send it.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Bye.
You're welcome. Thank you. Bye. Okay. So pretty much that is a court matter. On the live stream. Anyway, here it is. I had to pick that up, but it doesn't matter. My oldest is dealing with some court issues, and dealing with probation, going to court. So, kind of have to deal with all that stuff. So I'm gonna pull over and do this, and this may interrupt the live a little bit, but it is what it is. So, but this is a real morning drive. This is as real as it gets. You know, people get personal calls and stuff like that. A little bit of the drama in families and all that stuff. So that's just the reality. It's the real morning drive. So let me just go back to the wigs, and then actually let me pull over right here. And I'm not sure if it's going to be live while I'm trying to get this number, because sometimes it gets interrupted, sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, but I don't know. I got to figure that one out. So I'm going to be doing this while I'm still doing the live. And one of the things is that you know, the folks, it's so cold that you think sometimes, okay, people freezing out there. You know, these women, they needed a hat, right? And you know, the reality is that there isn't. It's a good reason why, you know, I was fooled into thinking, wow, they need a hat. They were probably nice and toasty and good old and warm. Well, I'm thinking, how could they do it? Sometimes you don't know, right? You don't know because it's deceiving. Unless you've had the experience, sometimes you really don't know. You really don't know who, how the person is feeling. They may be super comfortable, and you may be thinking they're going through something, through freezing cold or whatever. They're actually more comfortable than you. You know, they probably got good old thermals on, good insulation, and you know, sometimes you kind of have to know a little bit by experience. I think I put it here. Katie is the it's attorney name. It's your attorney name. Okay, good. So that kind of taught me something, right? That's this morning. And I'm looking at it from a point of view of like, wait a minute, what's going on here? I think, well, the health of the stream looks like it's good. It looks like I'm still, well, we're at 7 minutes, almost 8. And so I had to pull over behind this truck right over here. Oh, man, I don't want to turn this around. Anyway, let me turn it without messing with the wire. See, parked right behind the truck. This Yankee Stadium parking in that area. Kind of under this highway right over here somewhere. So I'm kind of learning how to swivel this a little bit, you know, a little differently. Yeah. So let me just get my head together with this. So if you got a wig, you got a hat. You know, you qualify. You have a hat in this code. And you know, yesterday I was talking about like Nathan, right? Nathan risk, like, and how Nathan encountered David and told him about the sin that he was in taking Uriah's wife and having a relationship with his wife, right? And how he used wisdom. You know, he was not a hot dog. I talked about, you know, people think about the iconic hot dogs, right? When you go to a Yankee game or any baseball game, hot dogs are iconic to baseball. People want to eat a hot dog while they're in a baseball game. But they also have the hot dog when you have a team and you're in a baseball team and you have a person that acts like a hot dog, like basically they're acting like they're all that. And so they're showing off. And so Nathan was not showing off. Nathan did it calmly, with candor, with wisdom. And so sometimes when you do confront people, you kind of have to do it like that. But you also have to be careful if your heart is right. I recommend people not to even confront people if you're under anger, if you're not self-aware about what you did wrong, or maybe the tone you use. I don't even think it's worth it unless you're fully aware of yourself, because it's just not going to work well. And so, you know, part of yesterday too, I tried to talk a little bit about, you know, and I did talk in another time alive a long time ago about people praying for whistleblowers, you know, because, you know, people that are getting to a place, right, of kind of letting people in leadership know that they're wrong, it becomes a problem, right? And you do not want to get to a place where it becomes a whistle is blown. You prevent if you can, by advising people in leadership if they're open to you. But the problem is many times people don't know how to do it. I've had situations a couple of times when people came to me for a quote unquote correction, people that I was overseeing per se, and it just didn't go over well. And it wasn't because of my ego; it's the way they used, the way they said it. I've taken recommendations, something I wasn't even aware of. Now I'm like, oh wow, I wasn't aware. Sometimes you're not aware as a leader. Sometimes you're not aware, and it's good for people to kind of not assume that you know. The worst thing is when people assume you know. Sometimes you do know, but sometimes you really, really don't, right? And so, just the other day there was a situation where people were feeling unappreciated at the workplace but they were comparing because they're not allowed to do all this overtime. But they're comparing another place that they work in that they could do all the overtime they want. So they're comparing two separate industries, two separate systems, one that people turn over like crazy and people call out. So they need somebody there in residential facilities. You can't compare those two. And so they connected appreciation to not being able to do overtime, not understanding we're running on a budget here. We don't have unlimited funds. And when the other place people leave or call out, they have to tap into that budget. They have to use that time and a half. And so for us, people sometimes, my workplace, sometimes people get upset at that, not understanding that you can't compare the two. So I have to explain to people sometimes, you're comparing apples and oranges here. You really, really can't. And so the comparison has to be right. So sometimes people jump to a conclusion thinking that they are making a good conclusion and they're not. Like me looking at those women with no hat thinking they're freezing. They had a wig on. They had a wig on. They didn't need a hat. They were warmer than me, And so sometimes you try to compare and you're really not, because it's deceptive at times. You think you know, you think you got all the variables and you really, really don't. And so, the other part about, so people could deceive, right? People can deceive. The other part that I was trying to touch on yesterday that I kind of want to touch on a little bit today is this thing about, and some of you that are anti-Trump people, some of you, hopefully you're recovering. I pray that you're on a good road to recovery, with the hate that some people just have. And to me, it makes no sense. Look, even if Trump would have lost, even though I'm a Trump supporter, I would have tried as much as possible to support Kamala Harris, even though I don't think she was competent for the work. I think at the end of the day, you can't lose sleep. You still got to go to work the next day. You cannot put all your emotion and all your eggs in any one basket. I don't put all my eggs in the Trump basket. I really don't. But competence-wise, even though he talks a little tough, people don't like it, too bad. We're New Yorkers. The reality is that here's another wig. Let me just talk about another wig. I don't want to go on a tangent here. But I'm hoping you recover from this, right? Because that way, if you could just see the wig here. Look at the wig. The wig is the deception. You think the person's going through cold, but they're not, right? Joe Biden on hours before Trump was inaugurated, hours before, he pardoned his son. Some of you heard this. Now this thing, here's the wig. Here's the wig. Here's the wig. The wig is, there's something called pardons that every president does. This is probably the first time that there's been pre-pardons. Pre-pardons. In other words, pardoned or the Attorney General, pardon the defense person, pardon what's her name, the Republican lady that hates Trump. They destroyed all of the January 6th documentation, all of it. How the heck could you do that? And they all got pardoned. They destroyed the evidence. Look at this. And they got pre-pardoned. Not pardoned, they got pre-pardoned. So what they were doing was, Trump, while he was, I think, president or whatever, he said something, he actually consulted to see can a person be pre-partying in case something happens? So they made a big stink out of it, and they said, oh, no, it's illegal. And you got all these politicians, Chuck Schumer, all these people saying, oh, that's illegal. And even Trump himself said, you know what? I consulted because I want to make sure that it's not viewed, because it looks like it will be viewed the wrong way. Now, did he pre-pardon? No, he did not. No, he did not. He is pardoning people from January 6th, which to me was probably 2 to 3 people that broke windows should have been the only one, maybe 5 that were aggressive like that should have been incarcerated. That's it. And that's for vandalism. Everybody else, you got so many other people. We know someone right now that I don't know this person well, but my wife knows this person, married to someone we know. She knows that is supposed to be doing time. A person is super nervous. They're a senior. And then they brought charges on them. January 6th, they just follow the crowd. And you have a person that's like I think in the late 60s or something, 70 or something like that, or in the 70s, that's supposed to do time. How the heck are you going to make somebody like that do time that follows the crowd? That makes absolutely no sense, right? So, we were out there, by the way, in January 6th, but we didn't go to the Capitol because we felt something was going to go off, right? Yeah, I'm so sorry. So now it's the first time you know that I was out there. You don't like it, that's just too bad. But I was out there, and that's what it is, what it is. And so, the issue is this. Again, Trump just consulted, he didn't do it. But then you have, years ago, what did they do? Here's the wig. They actually still did the pre-pardoning without saying it ahead of time. That way Trump didn't use it in his speech. He's talked about it later, found out later. But you see, it's a deception. And a wig, right? What is a wig? A wig is used to fool people into that there's real hair there, that there's a real style. That the style is different than that person's that the style that comes out of the wig is different than the capacity of the hair, than the potential of the hair. You understand what I mean? So in other words, people use a wig of an afro, but maybe the hair cannot grow into an afro. They just don't have that kind of hair, that type of hair. They just don't. It's also an instantaneous way to get a style. So you change the concept of time. You skip the stages of hair growth. You skip stages, right? And here we go. Pre-pardons, right? The wigs here are circumventing, changing completely the dynamic. When hair's growing, it's going to go through an ugly stage. Pardons, then people put people in a I'm clean, you can't touch me. So this puts people in the untouchable stage even before they were brought, charges were brought against them. And the worst thing is they destroyed, just like Hillary Clinton's hard drive, disappeared, just disappeared. Like the reality is that yes, there are people that are above the law. And I do see, again, it's mostly Democrat I see, but it's on the Republican side too that are really more against a person like a Trump that is against an established power structure, right? Somebody tries to disrupt that structure of power, they're going to get shellacked. They're going to get the power of the government to come against them. The power of the government to be unleashed against them. General Mike Milley, one that was pardoned. Who's the other one? Liz Cheney, that's the names. Liz Cheney, pardoned, pre-pardoned. These are pre-pardons. That lets you know Hunter Biden, the brother of Joe Biden, he even pardoned relatives that no one even heard of. So in other words, it lets you know that the whole family was having an enterprise of making money. There's some rumor now. There's a rumor now that Actually, I saw some picture. I forgot the point that I was going to say, but let me think of another point. Here, I did put it, I think, on the chat there. The chef from the White House that left the Biden administration. Actually, I don't know if it's true, if it's a real picture, because sometimes you can't believe stuff with AI. But he actually took a picture of one of the people that tried to assassinate Trump, the one that was in the golf course in Florida. So, the chef, what are the chances of the chef, one of the chefs from the White House that had a picture with the one that tried to assassinate Donald Trump? If that is a true picture, that lets you know what the heck is going on. You see the deception? You see the wigs here? You know, cold. This is cold stuff. Very, very cold stuff. So it lets you wonder, makes you wonder and think. You know, it makes you really wonder. What the heck is going on? Anthony Fauci, also, of course, pardoned. Because, of course, they lied about the whole vaccine situation. Completely lied. Forced people into the vaccination thing there. You know, people getting sick with the vaccines. And they would not even allow for there to be, for the companies that run the vaccines get sued. People have died because of the consequences of the vaccine. I know many people that have been vaccinated that get sick all the time. All the time they're calling out. All the time. I mean, this happens almost every other week. I know some people every other week. Every other week they get sick. Every other week. You know, it's nothing like it was before for them. You know, it's a real issue. It's a very real issue that people sometimes have gotten sick because of the vaccinations. So, but the vaccine companies, which, by the way, Fauci had a very similar situation during the 80s. I think I talked about this before, during the 80s, when there was a whole cocktail of drugs over the HIV thing, right? Era, the AIDS era, AIDS epidemic. And he basically was one, Biden himself was one that helped in what's called the gain of function, right, way back then. So he did illegal testing of vaccinations during that time. Also put a gag order on the person that was going to blow the whistle, potential whistleblower. She was able to come out like 4 or 5 years ago. She finally spoke up after the gag order expired. So it was one of the scientists that used to work in the lab. So you see, way back, and now here we go again. Now he gets a pre-pardon. Back then, there was a thing that, you know, that gag order on that lady that was a scientist, reputable. So here you go again, right? Here you go again. And that tells you the corruption that exists. You know, forget about pardons that are the real hair. They're the real hair. The pre-pardons is the wigs, the fake stuff. You know, that it's gotten to a place where it's complete deception at a super high level. You know, but those of you, I'm sorry, that don't like Trump, nothing I say you would accept. Nothing I say, right? No facts, because you're so stuck in the hate that nothing can change your mind, right? Now, there are some people, a lot of people changed their mind. A lot of people that didn't like Trump, they actually started supporting him. Why? Because now they see that they pay more for eggs and milk and all of that. Now you see, it had to hit you in the pocket. But some of you, because you probably get overpaid anyway from where you work, or maybe you have a house already, so maybe it doesn't faze you as much. Or whatever. Maybe it doesn't faze you. Maybe it doesn't affect you. You know, maybe you're in a good place. But those of us that are like, damn, this is no, that's just not what it goes. That doesn't work that way. And so, and one thing that I put there, is that the people in government very often they'll use, like this whole pre-pardon situation, um, uses government resources, but it also tests and looks at the weaknesses and the holes that the government has. So, um, the issue of pardon is real, but because pre-pardon was just kind of discussed and not even said, they said that's a weakness in the system. Let's exploit it. Maybe Trump is asking something that has some substance, but guess what? Let's be the first to use it. Let's be the first to do it. Let's test the Supreme Court. Let's see if they're going to turn this one around. That right there is crazy. Those pre-pardons should be taken out fully, 100%. That should be taken to court. It should end up at the Supreme Court. There should be no such thing. No such thing as pre-pardon. Let's leave it a pardon which is already tough enough, and controversial enough, um, it's a real thing. There was a real Whig party back in the days, 1800s, I think it was, early 1800s. It disappeared, the Whig Party. So imagine, we're talking about Whigs, we're talking about politics. Remember in the House of Commons out there in England, right? People go in, right? They go to their court while they're there, while they're serving, they're putting a wig on. They actually have the tradition. At times they role play. I don't know how much they still do it, but they put a real wig on. So basically, here there was a real wig party. In England, they use wigs. So, you do have a hat to cover the cold that is in politics. Because it is cold. It is cold. It is cold. It is cold. It is a very cold. So we got to pray for people that are people of faith that end up in politics. That way they don't become hardened or converted. Because I've known so many people that are Christians, they end up in politics. They end up compromising, like a lot of them, and they just don't have the grit for it. The way this kind of wig stuff is and faking is a way of zooming people. It's a way of fooling people. It's a way of manipulating people. And to me, that is a form of kind of witchcraft in politics. And not to me it is. It really is, because it's manipulating. What is witchcraft? Witchcraft is a form of manipulation. It's just done in a political realm that you don't even know. One time I had a dream. I'll never forget. It was a very, very terrifying. It was. I was in a courtroom, and there was all these papers, and I was in the courtroom. I was like an attorney there. Which, either way, I would love to go back to college and get a law degree. If I could do it again, if I had the time, and I would go and do it, right? And so I wanted to do the MD stuff years ago, but then I thought about it. I said, yeah, if I had the time and the resources, I would definitely go back and get a law degree, But and in the court, everybody was afraid of a spirit that was in the court. It was like the one that controlled the court. And lo and behold, there was a woman that came she was levitated. She was like not walking. She was like flying low in the court. And it was a woman, white woman, all dressed in white. And she was floating in the court. And everybody kind of froze. And, I looked at her. But basically, the Holy Spirit says to me, this is the madam of the court. In other words, the madam of the court is like the spirit. It's a demonic spirit that runs the legalities in courts. And so after there, it was just terrifying dream. The way I felt, I woke up feeling some sort of way there, and so I was like, oh, that's something that does happen in the legal realm. It is a person that controls through witchcraft in the court systems. It is a principality. You got. Some of you may think this is crazy, right? But you got demons, different ranks. This is more of a high, super high level, like a principality level and it was floating. This being was floating, and brought fear upon people. But it was like I had the paper. I had all these papers. And it was like I had to deal with this, with these papers, the legality. I had to deal with the legalities of this stuff in the courtroom. But it was very wicked, purely wicked, evil, to the point that this thing had such power. It was just incredible to see. Everybody was walking lightly, afraid. I was super cautious because this was not something to play with, you know. And so, but that is a form of witchcraft. The way pre-pardons are thrown around, the way rules and how they meet behind closed doors, politicians, there's some legality that's occultic that's working behind the scenes. It's a lot of deception. One of the things that happens when laws are passed, which is terrible, it should be completely outlawed, is when somebody's going to pass a regulation, a law, you got people saying throw that in. So you got like $100 million, let's say, a program to, they'll make it $500 million, but because they added all these special favors for these politicians for their districts. So instead of passing on this law, people think they're passing, there's always these backroom deals, which is manipulation. That they call that pork, political pork. And so they give it a name to be, that's pork. That's manipulation, and that's buying people out. That should be illegal. There should be a bill to make all pork, what they call pork, which is a form of manipulation, which is a form of doing papers behind the scenes. Like laws that are supposed to be 50 pages end up being 1,000 pages, right? Just because of all these little special favors, which makes absolutely no sense, And so I think I want to try to wrap up here. Another one that got away with stuff. I mentioned this before. Ted Kennedy. There was a woman that got killed in a car, and then they say, oh, he didn't do it. He got away with it. He passed away. They call him the Lion of the Senate. Ted Kennedy, and Ted Kennedy was one in a place called Chappaquiddick. The lady went missing. Had a relationship with her. There's some concern that he was a little abusive with her or something. That he was an alcoholic, and that she got killed that he killed her, and they found her body many, many years later. I forgot how long, but basically, another one I got away with stuff. Another one I got away with murder, and I just want to conclude, I did put there the truth behind 5Gs. That's kind of the next thing I'm going to talk about, which kind of relates a little bit to this. And it's, again, another wig in that the deception of things that are put out there by politicians with technology, but how that tech is being used against people. And people think they're getting 5Gs, but they're getting something else out of that. There's adverse effects of it that are not being publicized, like the adverse effects of this vaccine. It's crazy. People are not being given a fair truth out of this. They're being spun lies. So, so I don't know. Hopefully this stream came out good. I put it at 420p, at the 470, 420p. 33 minutes in. I don't know how much interrupted it was, but I think I was able to still put it on the GoPro recording anyway. So in case it doesn't, okay, let me turn this all the way around this way. There we go. Oh, no. So I'm just gonna turn it this way and kind of finish the morning drive with a real drive to a parking spot. Yay. So exciting. And one of the things that I'm trying to cut down on saying when I'm doing these drives is the word Now, I shouldn't have said that, because now folks are going to be hearing how many do I say. Kind of reminds me, This person that was in a prayer group, right? I don't say it as much as this person in prayer. And they would say the same thing so many times that it was disruptive in prayer. She would say, Lord Father God, Lord Father God. And that was kind of like a 1980s or early 90s prayer flow that people caught on. And some people got caught up thinking that by saying Lord Father God a lot of times that it was that they were more spiritual. And so some people got stuck on that. People get stuck on things like phrases, and sometimes it becomes an involuntary action. You're not even conscious that you're saying it. So I got to become more conscious of saying, because I say it all the time. And I say, I said it twice right there. So something has to change in my brain or something like that. So St. Mary's Park right over here, guys. So yeah, turning over to St. Mary's Park right there. Yep. Sometimes we take young people there to play ball. We've done it in the past, so we had to get people in and get them out because other folks come in and start trying to beef. Unfortunately, we work with justice-involved youth, and so, boy, when there's heavy gang involvement, you can't even take some out. You can't. Definitely can't. It's a danger. We had to, again, we had to dismiss 2 participants yesterday because one of them met another one down a few blocks down and cut his face open. Terrible. This is some of the stuff we're dealing with. Incredible. Just incredible. Gonna kind of back up here and do a U-turn. Yeah, I did not. So, yeah, I'm just gonna swing a U-turn here. I should have made a left on the other spot there. Freezing. Alrighty. So I think I'm gonna start wrapping up here now. Just wanted everybody to get a real morning drive experience here. This is as real as it gets. I could pay for parking. I could get reimbursed, but I don't. Sometimes I do not like to park, even though I get reimbursed, because I want to be able to leave whenever I want. I think I may need to leave early anyway and come back. So it kind of ties me down to be able to get in and out. But 99% of the times I don't even get out once I get in. Makes no sense. So I'm trying to swivel this. I was trying to get like a little thing. I think this is good enough, kind of doing it like this. Kind of works okay. So, all right, I'm just going to probably edit some of this out. Anyone's looking, God bless you. May the Lord bless you and keep you and guide you in Jesus' mighty name. I don't know how this stream came out. We'll see how it came out. Bye-bye.